Hi, I'm Betty. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to make a dish called Arroz con Carne, a takeoff on the Spanish Arroz con Pollo, which essentially is just rice with chicken. It does have a few more ingredients than that, and I'll explain them. My father-in-law grew up in Ybor City in Tampa, a location populated by Italians and Spaniards. Although his parents came from Italy, they obviously were influenced by the many Spanish people living in that area. And this is a dish that's been a family staple as long as I've known the family. So here we go. Very simple ingredients. I have a pound of chopped beef, which I've already browned. I've got a medium onion, chopped, a red pepper. I've got just half of a green pepper, which I happen to have. I've got a plump clove of garlic, which I have grated on my microplane grater. I have a cup of rice. I have about 2 cups of chicken broth here, which I already have soaking a pinch of saffron. If you're not familiar with saffron, saffron are the stamens of the crocus, and it is indeed one of the world's most expensive spice. But you only need a pinch or two to flavor a whole dish. However, it is expensive, and if you prefer not to use that, you can substitute Goya's Sazon seasoning, or the one that I use most often, although I can't find it in this area, it's Vigo's flavoring and coloring for yellow rice and chicken. Arroz con Pollo. So those are our ingredients. Of course, salt and pepper, and we're going to use a little olive oil. All right, I've added some olive oil to my pan, which I have already heated. And now I'm going to add the chopped onion. I'll get that in there. And I'm going to saute this for 2 to 3 minutes, just till it softens. It doesn't need to brown. A number of people have asked me about kitchen equipment. All of the pots I use are all clad. I've had many of them for 30 years or so, and I must admit they're still like brand new. But for non-stick, I prefer Swiss Diamond. It has a different kind of non-stick coating which doesn't wear off. Even the very expensive all-clad coating eventually will come off. So I do like the Swiss Diamond for non-stick. The onion is now softened, and I'm going to add both of the peppers. And these are going to cook for about 2 minutes. Another thing I wanted to tell you about was about chopping onions. I've seen more silly things about preventing tears when you're cutting onions, all the way up to things that look like swimmer's goggles. I have found the most important thing to prevent that is to use a really sharp knife. The sharper your knife, the less you're going to break down the tissue of the onion, and therefore the less of the sulfuric fumes you're going to release. And that's what causes the tears. Sharp knives are probably the most important tool in your kitchen. The peppers have cooked with the onion for a couple of minutes now. You can see the onion is quite translucent, and that's really your key to know that it's been cooked enough at this point. Now I'm going to stir in my grated garlic. I'll use a little spatula to make sure I get all of it. We put the garlic in at the end because if you overcook garlic, it becomes bitter. So we just want to stir this in. That's all that needs to happen with that. And your nose will tell you the moment that garlic starts to cook. Right, we've got that stirred in, and now I'm going to add 1.5 cups of rice. The family has always used Uncle Ben's converted rice, the original Uncle Ben's, and of course that's what I use. And we just want to stir that in with the vegetables, get it lightly coated with the oil. And I'm going to add next the chicken broth that I put the saffron in. This is homemade chicken broth, which contains no salt. If you don't happen to have homemade, then I suggest you use a low sodium canned stock. Make sure we get all of that lovely saffron in there. And give this a stir. I'm going to turn the heat up a little because we want this to come to a boil. Of course, the purpose of the saffron is some flavoring, but it's also to turn the rice a lovely yellow. I almost forgot an important ingredient. I'm going to add a 14.5-ounce can of finely diced tomatoes. This is a great way of getting vegetables into children, as you'll notice. Now I'm going to add the beef, which I've already browned. Just get this all mixed thoroughly. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm using kosher salt. And a few grindings of pepper. This will need an additional about 3/4 cup of water. You can always check it toward the end of the cooking process. If the rice still feels uncooked, you can just add a little more water and cook it a little further. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat down and cover this, and I'm going to leave it for about 20 minutes. That looks perfectly cooked. I had checked it at 20 minutes and the rice was still a little hard, a little raw, so I added an additional 1/2 cup of hot water and cooked it for an additional 6 minutes. And now it looks just about perfect. Good. Now, you may, if you like, add about 1 cup of peas. These are frozen, which I've defrosted. You can see it really adds some beautiful color to this dish. And there you have it, arroz con carne. Of course, this dish can also be made in the classic way with chicken, and you can check my website for that recipe. Enjoy.